Big Poppy in the house. This is number 3 as far as video to build a primer alarm, primer feed, and a round counter on a lead Loadmaster Press. Up front, we're getting into the wiring and different components in that. I have no responsibility if you do any wires or anything wrong with what I'm showing you. You're liable 100%. If you follow the instructions of what I'm doing, they've been in place for going on 7 years now. So I just want to know, let that be known up front, that I am not responsible if you do something incorrectly on building your unit. What we're going to cover today is I've had to wait an extra week than what I planned on, but I finally got my counter. And unfortunately this comes in from China, so I'm going to be using a blue one on this one, and it's got your typical 3 wires on the back, and it's got also your buttons that we talked about as far as resetting your counter. It's got a pigtail on the back. We'll set that aside for right now. And then what we're going to do, we're going to practice on this one. I've done several of them, but I'll show you some different ways to go ahead and cut your panel out for your counter right here. If you mess this up, it's not going to look very good. And I've already learned the lessons, when I first started out making these. So like I said, what I've done is I've taken a piece of tape and I put it on the side of the unit right here, and I'll show you how we'll cut that out. And then you're gonna drill a hole, and approximately it's gonna be 7/8 inch hole. And on the main box, you need to decide right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount mine on the side of my bench. So I'm going to go through the back of the unit, and I've already drilled my hole in the back, and I've put a grommet, which I'll show you here. Some of you may want to come and drill your hole on the side of your box if you're not wanting to go through your bench, and that's fine. So on your box, if you decide to go on the side, it would look just like this here. And then they make a kit out there. It's for about 10 bucks. It's got all kind of size of grommets. So you're going to want to take that grommet on that 7/8 hole, and you're going to insert it in the inside of that hole, and it's going to look just like this. And what that's going to do is protect the wires that are going in and coming out of your box. Okay? Now, a second option that you have if you don't want to use the grommets is these are called glants for wires. And basically all of them have a nut that's on the front, and it's got a rubber insert that actually goes onto the wire when you put this together. So in this particular case here, you would take this and stick it through here. And what I recommend is you to put the screw side on the inside. And we'll go ahead and again, my project box is much larger. This makes it look like, it's overkill. So that's just an example of the largest one that you can buy, and you want to put all your wires coming through it. Other options that you have is they basically make 3 sizes. So you already seen the first one. This is the large. This is the medium. And this one is the small. Okay? Alright, so what I want to do now, and let me see if I can zoom this in better. Try to do some justice here so we can get started. And alright, so here's your box. Now, I've made several of these, so I know exactly what I need to do to make it come out right. And I'm going to show you a couple tricks that'll make it a lot easier for you. And you're going to need a Dremel tool and a drill. And what a lot of people are doing is going ahead and taking the Dremel tool here and trying to cut this out. And let me show you, if you don't know what you're doing or paying attention, because you want to make sure that you keep it on fairly high, medium speed, and you're going to want to make sure that you have this cutter halfway into the box that you're cutting, because what happens is when you try to cut this out, you're going to go past the line where you need it to be, and it just looks real sloppy. So let me show you an example of what that looks like. Alright, so if you take this and try to cut that, because it's round radius, is you're going to go past your lines, and it's just going to be too sloppy for your counter to be able to fit into that. Okay? So again, you want to take this, if you're going to try that and be brave, is go halfway all the way in where your shaft's almost maxed out with your box, and then come back on the inside and finish that out. But let me show you a much easier way. Alright. Get you a drill. And I'm guessing this is probably around 3/8 of a drill. Alright, take your drill and go into the corners. All 4 corners. Alright, and basically this is what it's going to look like. You're going 4 corners with your holes. This one, remember, we already went past it, so you see where my drill got caught on it. Now take your Dremel tool and cut this out. And like I said, I'm running about 3 on my speed. I think 4 is where you probably need to be. And this is definitely messy. And again, what I do is I come back with a little sander on here on my Dremel tool. And let me get one of those out if I haven't already. It's out here somewhere. Here it is. Okay. And there's my... Alright. So now, if you take a look at what we did, you'll notice on the top of that, it's inside the line still. And it didn't exceed past. because look here, you can take that sanding wheel here that we're going to put in the Dremel tool, and you can clean that up and make that look really nice. But you'll notice that you didn't go past your lines here like we did earlier, say for an example there, when we tried to use it without the holes. So if you do that right there, you'll be very pleased, okay? And when you're cutting that, try to go a little bit to the inside first, because it'll make it a lot easier for you. And you can always come back and do the sanding part. Alright. Moving on to the main panel. It's time to go ahead and cut this out for my counter. And remember, I gave you the dimensions. Take your counter out of your box, and you're going to measure the back side of this from the width and the height. And then you're going to lay this down on your panel and mark it out. And in the earlier email, or the video, I told you exactly what that dimension was. Okay? So, now it's time, and hopefully I don't mess this up on video, but I can tell you when I first started, I did have some opportunities on messing up a few panels until I got the trick of the trades out of that. And I'm going to go ahead and slide a board over here. And I've already got my wires in it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing as we did before. Is we are going to take and we are going to drill holes in the four corners. Okay. Alright, and as you can see, we have the four corners. We've got it drawn on the panel. And now we're just going to cut it out. It does make a pretty good mess too. So And guys, I tried to save some time here on the video so there's not like 10 videos to finish this project. It works out a lot better if you go ahead and have all your wires and controls not on here. It makes it a lot easier to hold it and those kind of things. So again, as you can see here, we've got the hole cut out. I'm inside my black lines here, and I'm going to take sander and put it on my drumming tool. It's going to look just like this, and I'm going to just go around and just clean that up just a little bit. And then you'll also want to come on the back side because you're going to have some debris that's on the back, and you want to knock it all off. And looks like there's one little place that I could go ahead and go a little bit farther. And you can also turn it over on the back side and do the same thing. If you've got any that need to be cleaned up. And again, the cutter that I'm using is just a regular round wheel. And we're just going to use a regular sanding pad here. Clean this up a little bit. Okay, I've got it cleaned up to a certain degree, as you can see right there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to test fit and see if we're big enough to allow our counter to fit into the control panel. And let's see, we're going to take this pigtail off. And as you can see, I need to make it slightly a little bit bigger. Not a big deal. Make sure my width looks pretty good. Just need to enlarge my height of it just a little bit to allow it to fit in there. And again, what you want to do is make sure that you take a little at a time, so you don't take too much, because you're not going to be happy with it if it's all sloppy and it won't stay in. So we've got a little bit more to go for that to go in. And I'm going to have to get this bottom a little bit more, and I may have to put the cutter on and go just a little more deeper. very, very close here. And let's see if I can hit it with, I think. And I'm going to have to take the corners and take off a little more with my cutter, which is not a big deal. You want it looking good. Alright, all I got to do is hit this bottom a little more. We need to finesse that just a little bit more. Okay, it took a little finessing, and you're gonna, you just want to take your time with that, so it looks good. But as you can see, it is now in the control panel, and then we'll come back and we'll take and peel that tape off as well. And here's the back side. Okay. Alright, we're going to set this aside for a minute. And one thing that I recommend that you do is, because in just a little bit we'll start doing some wiring back here. And okay, a couple things you could do is you could pop this counter out just like that, and not even have it in there and come back later and put it in. But what I found out is if I do that, sometimes I forget, and then I got to come back and break the wires apart because I already started doing some of the wiring on it. So normally what I would do is take some tape, and this blue tape ain't real aggressive like the green. If I can get it off this thing. And what I've done is now I've protected that so it don't get all scratched up on your counter here. Okay? So we'll go ahead and set this aside for right now. Okay. Alright, now we're going back to our main box. Okay, so for my application, like I said, I drilled the hole through the back of it, and I put a grommet in it. That hole size is 7/8, and that will allow me to take all my wires to all my accessories that I'm making and go through that hole. So your power's going to go through it, your counter's going to go through it, and your wire's going to your primer alarm, and your wire for your primer feed is going to go through that. Okay? Alright, so what I want you to do now is take your black wire to your alarm, your buzzard here, and I want you to, let me get a pointer here. Alright, what I want you to do is take your black wire from your buzzard and hook it into the bottom screw of your one channel electronic system here. Okay, black from your buzzard to your bottom hole. Stick that in there, tighten it up. Alright, now your red off your buzzard goes to the first step on your positive side of your buzz bar here. Okay, so black to the buzzard, red from the buzzard to the first position of your buzz bar here. Okay, alright, the next thing I want you to do is take your negative part, which is the bottom side of that buzz bar here. I want you to take your ground side, and I want you to put a connector on there that's got a little O-ring on it, and I want you to take it and remember where you put that ground in on some of the other videos. I want you to take this and put that on the ground between the two nuts and tighten that up. and I believe I did this on the other ones. I am going to, if you remember right, that screw came up too far, so you're going to want to put a smaller screw on it, because when you put your panel on, you don't want anything grounding out to that bolt. And I had a package of real small ones here somewhere, and I believe it was this here. So here's the size that we had, that we started with, and you want to go to a smaller one, which you can see is smaller. Alright, so stick that through there. Now, since we're not going to take the ground off again, take and peel some of that green tape off now around that ground. Just like this. And take your screw, push it through there, put your first nut on that. Man, I'll tell you what, dropping stuff all over the place. Like I said, you want to tighten up that first one. And let me grab a bigger screw, or I mean a nut, so we can put that on there. Hopefully I got the right one here. Yeah, okay. Go ahead and put your ground on. Put your screw on. And take that wire, before you tighten it all the way up, take that wire and push it all the way along the side to the bottom. Let me tighten this up. I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so you notice that I took this ground, I hooked it up, and you can see it, it's laying along down in the bottom side of that channel with that wire down there. Can't even tell it's there. And you tightened it up. Okay, now, the next thing, okay, with your channel 1 component, it comes with this little short wire off of it, and they actually go down over these. You can buy these on eBay too if you want. I keep all my color somatics all the same, yellow, red, orange, and it makes it easier than red and white. And I take these and actually throw them away because you don't need them, but you can use them if you don't want to go buy that. And just remember your color code here that your channel came with, that you keep them the same. That I'm showing you to use the yellow, red, and orange. Make sure you got that system in the same thing, but just repeat your same color coming off your channel 1. Okay, So this does make it a lot easier as far as just taking these and pressing them on the little pins here, just like this. Okay. So to show you, and another thing that you can do is you can take, because these things during wiring the whole unit up, it seems like these things keep sliding off of your little pins right here. But what you can do is take these 3 wires and put a dab of solder on each one of them, and then take a wire right next to it and solder it together, and then slide some of this shrink tube over the top of it. And just so I'm thorough and I make sure I show you, let me show you what that looks like real quick. If you choose to do that, it'll look just like this. Let's see here. Just like that. Okay. So to make it simple, that you've already got 3 wires that came with your unit. So just go with that unless you want to change your color scheme. Okay. So the first one here on these 3 pins, your first one is yellow. So you're going to take the yellow and put it on the bottom one. You're going to take and put, and I'm going to double check something here. Alright, and then on the middle one, you're going to take and put your orange one. And on your third one is going to be your red. Okay, so see, yellow, mine is orange, and mine is red. Again, your color code of your wires are probably different colors. Just make sure that once we start taking each one of these wires to where they go, is to make sure that you use the color ones going to the right place. Okay? Okay, now on the next one, the 4th pin over gets a red one. And you're going to need to put one of these spade bits on it, terminal, and that is a number 8. So put your number 8 on. Okay. The next one is going to be your ground. Again, it has one of those spades on it, and it goes in your 5th pin. Okay, so once again, we have yellow, orange, red, and this is for your sensor, for your alarm. Then you got power that goes from your channel, and you have ground that goes on your channel. Okay, so it's looking just like this. Okay, alright, and again, you're going to need some of these little fasteners that I showed you. And here, this probably makes more sense. And it looks just like that, and it's got a hole that's in the inside where you push the wire through. And I was running low on the real small ones that I need, so I went ahead and ordered a kit. Now I'm going to show you what the kit looks like. And the kit looks just like this. And the ones that we're going to use majority of is all the red ones, which is the small one. And we're going to use one yellow. So that's what the kit looks like. And if you want to buy the fancy pliers that goes with it, works out great. It's specifically made for crimping those. Okay, so we'll set this aside. And let's see. And the red terminal goes on the number 4 post of this box on the positive side. Okay, so this positive that comes over, and it's your 4th wire, goes to your 4 positive buzz bar position. Okay? Then you're going to come back. You're going to take the black, which is your 5th wire, and you're going to put it straight across from where you put the positive, which would be number 4 on your buzz bar. And these, if you didn't allow enough room on the side, you're going to have all kind of troubles trying to get that in there, because I went over quite a bit, as much as I could, and it's still a little bit of a challenge to do that. It just takes a little time to do it. Okay. And okay, then what I want you to do is to take those 2 wires and put a wire tie on it. It's here somewhere. Where's my wire ties? Here they are. Alright. Go ahead and put a wire tie on it. Those 2. And then go ahead and cut off the tail. Okay, so what we did is we put the positive number 4 on the 4th position on the positive buzz bar. We took the ground off the unit, which is your number 5, and hooked it to the number 4 on your buzz bar negative. We've taken the 2, we've put a little wire tie on it. We've tucked it down here to the side because we're going to come back to it a little bit later. Okay, now you still have these 3 wires hanging here. Okay. And let's see, I need to show you let me get a wire here somewhere. The wire ties. Let me grab a small. I need a. I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. Alright, so again, like I said, I had to order these because I ran out of the real small ones. Okay. Now, if you don't want to spend the money for the fancy pair of pliers, let me show you what you can do. Alright. So go ahead and strip this back, and I usually strip it back about an inch. Take your wires. Now you can take and solder this if you wanted to. And what you're trying to do is take up the room of the cavity of the inside of this little pin. You're going to take and you're going to stick this wire through it, and you're going to be using a lot of these, so find what works for you. And what I like to do is, I have a different pair of pliers that I bought and I've been using them for years, is I take and put the plier here and I put the fitting here, and what I do is I just crimp it real tight, let go, and now I have a wire that's got these little fittings on them, and you're going to use a bunch of those. Okay, so you're going to need to take, when you have whatever wire came with your channel 1, you're going to take this and you're going to cut it off on this end. You're going to take these wires, the 3 on your control channel, you're going to take the first three, and you're going to put those fittings on them. Okay? The next thing you're going to do, you can get these, and there's several different types that you can get. You're going to need one of these little blocks, and you can put wires up through on both sides, and then it's got screws on the inside that you tighten down onto your screws. Okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your yellow, and your yellow is going to go into the first part of the block. Bear with me for a minute. And if it comes out too long on the back side, you can always clip that off, put it in there, and you're going to tighten it up. Okay, the next one you're going to do, since I had to cut the other one just a little shorter, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one a little shorter. And you're going to stick it in the second hole, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing with your red. Okay, and that's what that's going to look like right here. So you got your 3 wires, yellow, orange, red, same sequence, and that's finished for your box. Okay. And then make sure that you don't have a lot of debris, a lot of the black stuff that, you know, when you drill the holes in your box. And then some other things that I forgot to share with you. Mine's a big box. It's got 3 functions, 3 operations. I'm not going to do it right now because I got so many videos that I want to make. And these kind of videos take a long time to do, but if you guys have requested it, so I don't mind doing that. Plus I needed another one anyway. Is you can downsize your boxes. So for an example, you may find that you only want the round counter, and you can get by with one of these little small boxes like this. You may only want a primer alarm, and you can get by with one of these little boxes. And let's say for an example you only want the primer feed, so you could downsize this to fit whatever applications that you would like to set up on your presses. Okay, this system, once it's finished, and with the next mod that I'm going to make to this, is still going to fit within this system here. And I'm going to have to run about 3 more wires into here, and we're going to add one more electrical component that goes inside. Remember, the amps is only 2 amps inside the whole box. It's a 12-volt system. So hopefully this helps. This is probably long enough for this number 3 video. Next time on the next video, we are going to come back and we are going to do a lot of the wiring on the back of your panel. And I'm going to show you where all these wires go, what colors they need to be. If you want to go ahead and start making some of these up, please do so. You know, on your on and off, it's going to be the same color. So you're going to have, I went with 2 reds coming off of it, and it's going to have the little circle terminals. On your button for your round counter, it needs to be both 2 reds on it, and they're going to have the spade terminals on those, 2 wires coming out. If you bought the wiring for the lights that I've showed you, they already come with a pigtail on them, unless you've chose to do something different with that. On that one, you need to make sure that you have a red and a black one for it. And then on your primer feed, it's going to be the same color. So I've chose to use black and white. And I've put a connector where you can put 2 wires together. And again, I have another spade bit, which is the number 8. And then when it comes over to your fuse, you can basically use 2 of the same color if you want. I've tried to go with a black and red. So that's going to be a lot of wiring there that you'll need to have wrapped up. Okay, so in the next video we are going to take the panel and we are going to start tying these in together. And the next one, like I said, is going to be generally just wiring by itself. And as always, if you like my channel, please subscribe. Please support the sport. And as always, good shooting, and thank you. Have a good day.